Let's talk about Amazon, stock symbol AMZN. The stock has had a pretty significant sell off going back to its February all time highs, where it was trading at one point as high as $242 a share. Since then, it's dropped about 33% off of those highs, and it has managed to rally about 33% off of its lows, the lows being the ones from April 7th. Now, how is it still so far off of its all time highs? And that's because the bigger the drop, the more of a rebound that you need to be able to get back to break even. So if you lose 50% on a stock, you got to make a 100% return just to get back to your break even point or where you were at before. That's why you have to use stop losses. That's why risk management is so important in your trading, is because it takes one bad trade to really dig you into a really bad hole that's very difficult to come back from. So in this video, what I want to do is I want to go over the stock. I want to go over the charts, the technical analysis, and review what I'm seeing on the charts and whether or not it's still a good time to be buying this stock and how that correlates with a very overbought market. So let's go ahead and get into those charts right now. So on this Amazon chart, you have this AVWAP. I've tied it to the all-time highs, and it's broken back above it. It didn't really ever have any significant tests of it, so I don't really consider it to be all that important, but it did gap back above it. But what we can do going forward is tie this AVWAP back to the lows from April 7th. That way, if it comes back down and tests it like it did back on April 30th and bounces, we'll know that there is some additional support there that's worth paying attention to going forward. But what has me most interested in this stock, and I think one of the key breakthroughs leading to it, was this break of this declining trend line. We didn't really give it too many problems here. It tested it back and formed it with that retest here on March 26th, and then it broke through it in late April. Now, what I thought was pretty cool is that it came back down to this broken trend line, and oftentimes when you break through a declining trend line, it'll retest it as support going forward. And so it did that here, used it as support, launched higher, and then has been steadily moving higher ever since. Now, let's draw this little purple line here. This is a little bit of a short-term rising support level here. You can see where it's bounced off of this level 2 days in a row right here in earlier this month. And then it has pulled back here just recently to that level as well. So you have a very nice rising trend line. It's in conjunction with this 10-day moving average as well. You can't really see it because it's behind the level. But if you just go ahead and create a parallel line, what do you have here? You have a very nice rising channel in the short term. Now, I've had a couple people come back to me and say, oh, that's a bear flag. And I'm like, that is not a bear flag. Doesn't mean that it can't break to the downside, but to say it's breaking down to the downside because a bear flag might be on the verge of confirming, that's not something I would go with. Bear flags aren't supposed to be that steep. So it's a pretty steep for a bear flag. Wouldn't consider it that. I just call it a short-term rising channel. And it's tested the lower channel band after testing the upper channel band. And so what I would look for here is the potential for it to make another significant move. We've tested it, we've held it, and now we're bouncing. We need to see if it can get back up to this like 221, 222 level before it makes another pullback in the near term. So that would be the trade setup right there. Now you have some gaps underneath it that is a little bit concerning. In fact, you could even say that today it opened up in that gap after trying to hold it off for a few days in a row here. I probably should change the color of this just to give it a different look. Gosh, I don't know. I'm not too choosy. Let's go with just like a gray color. All right. It got into that gap, but it worked its way right back out of it. So that's a good sign for it. We saw the market also stage a pretty healthy rebound off of the lows despite the Moody downgrade. You also have a bull flag pattern that is in play here. So nice little bull flag pattern. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a textbook perfectly formed by any means, but you have a bull flag pattern inside of this channel trying to break out of it as well, not letting that gap, hold it down. So I think there's a lot of bullish things that's taking place with Amazon in the short term. Now, you also have this double bottom breakout. That's pretty cool, right? So you have this layer of resistance broke out above that resistance, been running ever since. So if this rising channel ends up failing, I would watch for what happens on the test of support at around 192 and see if it doesn't bounce right there as well. Double bottom that I'm talking about right here, some people will say that's not really a double bottom because it goes way below the second bottom here. This level here is much steeper than where we got to back on the retest back on 421. But if you look at it from more of like a closing basis, it's pretty much in line with where price action has been. So I'd consider it a double bottom. Finally, you have resistance overhead. This is one area you want to be concerned about. You have some resistance. If we take that little bull flag line off, you can see where it tests it right here, a little bit in there, tested that support here, and then formed it the resistance right there back in November. So this is a pretty heavy layer of resistance. So this would probably be the main area that I would be watching for. Okay, if it gets up to this level and starts to struggle, probably a good sign to take some or all of the position off the table, because that's going to be a heavy test resistance right there. Long term, show you what I got here. Long-term trend line consistently bounced off of it until we got into the whole tariff war and Liberation Day, and then at that point we broke below it and it got very messy. I don't have a lot of confidence in this rise in trend line, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it off of the charts here for now. Overall, with SPY, you want to make sure that if SPY starts to falter, you're just not bag holding in Amazon unnecessarily, because right now SPY is up 6 days in a row. It's up 17 out of the last 20 days. This has been an epic run for the S&P 500, but it's also probably getting a little bit exhausted at this point. Okay, let's just be fair. You're getting into this area here where there's a lot of chop that could also be reflected in the Amazon price action going forward. So if you start to see this start to struggle, and that starts to become reflected in the Amazon stock price, I wouldn't hold it on to it either at that point. So you really want to see the market be able to continue to the upside, and thereby seeing it confirmed in Amazon as well, for you to want to stay in the stock, for the next couple of weeks. Like I said, very overbought market, very overextended. The S&P 500 has been running wild for a long time here. Russell 2000, not so much. You're seeing a little bit of rotation into utilities, staples, and real estate of late. They've been some of your stronger sectors over the last 2 to 3 trading sessions. So keep that in mind. Amazon, I do like it from an individual stock standpoint, but using the top-down trading strategy that I like to employ in my trading, I have to be cognizant of the fact that the S&P 500 may start to show some profit taking in the near term, and if that happens, that could impact the Amazon stock as well. So if you enjoyed this video, I would encourage you to like and subscribe. Let me know down in the comments below, what is your take on Amazon and really the Mag 7 stocks as a whole. Are you looking at buying these right now, or do you think they're too overextended to be jumping into? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys, and God bless.